Welcome back everybody, Mudford here. Had the Bronco out in the mud at the Lemon County Fair mud bog the other night, and now my alternator isn't working, so we're gonna take it apart and see what we come up with. I have a feeling it's just got some mud on some of the contacts, like the brushes. We'll see. Hopefully that's all it is. So I'll show you what you need to do to tear one of these down for inspection. If you want to know if yours is like it, here's what the plugs look like. You got the one to the alternator, you got your other ones here for your field, your stator, and your ground. So I checked this and I know it's not working because I jumpered from the battery terminal to the field, and that's called full fielding it. It's a good way to test if it's your this has an external voltage regulator. You can check just by basically giving 12 volts to the field if it's in the alternator or outside of the alternator, and it wasn't making anything even when I put 12 volts to the field. So I went ahead and pulled it out, and now we're going to disassemble it. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is pull the pulley and the fan off of it. So I'm going to go ahead with that. Mine is a 15/16 nut, so I just went ahead already and hit it with an impact, loosened it up so it's loose. So I cheated a little bit, I've already had it off. I sprayed some PB Blaster around here, and then once you do that and wiggle it with some pry bars, it'll come right loose and right off. So we got that off, out of the way, and the fan will come out of the way too. We're just going to set those aside for now. We won't need those for a while. And we're going to go ahead and get it split in half. Okay, before you take this case apart, you're going to want to mark it so you can get it, because it has 4 bolts, it'll go any way you want to have it clocked right. So this one is remanufactured, so it is already marked. So we're just going to take off these 4 3/8 bolts. I already have them loose. I'm going to spin them out and we'll take this case right in half. Okay, the best thing to do is to flip it over like this, and we're going to get in here and pry. There's room to pry right here. We're going to want the stator to stay with the bottom piece, so we're going to go ahead and pry it. I have to set it down. I'm just going to pry it apart. There's ample spots to pry it, and take just this top part out. I'll go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like. Top out, and you can see it's pretty dirty, really dirty down inside. Here's what our main problem is, why we're not producing any voltage. See if I can get the light right. There we go. Those brushes should be popped out right now. The brushes aren't contacting this, completing the circuit, so that means we're not making any electricity. So it looks like there's just mud in here. We're just going to take it all apart, clean it, and put it back together. So now I'm going to take the whole this whole assembly out, the windings, and there are 4 5/16 on each side for that. There's 2 for the brush assembly, and then there's also one hidden one on the opposite side of the brushes that holds a little condenser, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's right in there. You're going to want to take that out too. So I'm going to go ahead and get all those out now, and those are all 5/16. Okay, once you get those 7 bolts out of there, there's one more thing you got to do before you take it out, and that is on the front here. You have to take that out, and the battery and the ground out. That one's a 5/16. You'll need a deep well, and this one is a 7/16, and then you can pop that whole assembly out. Okay, it's ready to come out now. You just got to pull it out, and you got to angle it to get these studs to slide out and up. So you're just going to tip up the back end here until the studs clear in the front. The whole thing pulls right out, and you can see it's one big dirty mess. I'm going to clean this all up with brake parts cleaner and hopefully get it clean and dry, put it back in, lube up the bearing, and probably sand down the copper on that a little bit with some fine sandpaper and call it good. Okay, you can see now the brushes are freed up, the springs are free, they'll pop right back out. That's the way they should be, and it's cleaned up around the bearing. I'm going to have to put some grease in the bearing, hopefully it's still alright. What I need to do now is right here, you need to put like a paper clip or something similar, and that will hold the brushes back away. That'll hold them away from here. As soon as you get the case together, then you can slide the paper clip out and the brushes will slip right onto here where they should be. I'm going to go ahead and clean these up with some fine grit sandpaper just to make sure I got a good contact surface there. And I still have to clean this up. This wasn't like this before. My solder connections on all three of these pop loose, so I'm going to have to clean it up, put it back together, and resolder those three right there. These three. Okay, this is all cleaned up now. You can see my problem here. These are off. You can see how I cleaned all the mud out of here in between the windings. Just used brake parts cleaner and then blew it out with air. And then I took some sandpaper and went around here that was all muddy and rusted, and that looks a lot better now. You can see I got the three solder joints resoldered. Had to use an industrial, I think it's like 200 watt soldering iron to get that hot enough. Little one just won't quite cut it. And I also have, you can see, brushes are pushed back in. They will pop back out. I have the paper clip holding them back, so that's ready to go back together. We have this all cleaned up, that all cleaned up. This is ready to go back together now. I got some grease down in there on the bearing, a little bit of grease on the shaft here. Got the marks lined up. I just got to put the 4 bolts in here and pull the paper clip out and put the pulley on. Okay, I pulled the paper clip out from the hole there, released the brushes, and also threw the pulley back on. I just got to zip it down with the impact and we'll be good to go. Okay, here's the alternator all wired back in place, and we'll fire it up now and see what we got on our voltmeter. You can see it's running just over 13 volts, so that means we're charging.